Hi, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Fitness Snacking with Lois. Today, we are talking about how to get unstuck. So if you know someone, whether it's you or someone you know who's feeling stuck right now in the midst of all of this uncertainty, it's okay. You're not alone. We're here to help and get you back onto your happy journey moving forward. So if you don't know about me and my company, Fitness Knocking is a mobile personal training service serving you in person in 8 different counties in New Jersey, as well as virtually in 9 different states. So whether you're right here in New Jersey, or if you're across the US, we can help you with your exercise and fitness goals. Or if you're a corporation and you want to get your employees better engaged, feeling better inside and out, give me a call and I'm happy to chat about that. So please subscribe, comment, share this page. Let us know that you're here and you're watching, and if you have any questions, by all means, ask them in the chat. We're not going to be here for a long time today, so we're going to get started right away. So I have with me Taryn Abrahams, and she is such an amazing person. She's a corporate behavioral specialist. She works for herself, and she's a human interaction expert. So she helps to improve the workplaces of each individual person that works within that workplace to make your bottom line better. Oh my gosh, everybody needs to know her. Taryn, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Lois. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm so grateful to have you today. So what's been going on in your world? I mean, I know that we're talking about getting unstuck, and the whole feeling of stuck. Is it really stuck, or is it victim, martyr, self-pity, limited beliefs? Like, tell us, give us some deep. So
yes.
What is the feeling of stuck, really?
So oftentimes, well, first of all of us have been here, right? All of us have experienced that feeling of being stuck or sometimes even burnt out, right? Or that lack of direction. And when we get stuck, we oftentimes think, and what really impacts this feeling of being stuck is we oftentimes think we should be doing something that we're not.
Okay.
Right? We should be somewhere else in our lives. We should be making more money. Right? I should be married by now. I should have X amount of kids by now, right? So that sort of mentality of like, I should be, or I have to, or I must. Those are words we should be very mindful and careful of. When we start talking to ourselves, which by the way, we all do, but the conversations we have with ourselves, the words that we use are important, and the words can drive emotion. The words that we put into our minds, how we talk to ourselves, ultimately impacts how we feel. Right. So it's not so much the situation, it's how we respond and react to circumstances in our lives. We've all felt like we've been drowning at times. We've all felt stuck from time to time and even confused. We know we need to move, but we just can't. Right. But just what if being stuck isn't actually the problem, but it's how we perceive it? Right. So honestly, feeling stuck is sometimes feels like quicksand. The more we try to get out of it, the deeper sometimes we sink.
Right.
So perhaps part of the answer is sometimes surrendering. Perhaps it's a moment to be quiet. Perhaps it's not the time to be doing. Maybe it's a time to reflect. Right? And we can't innovate. We can't solve problems. We can't think out of the box until we're quiet. So perhaps being stuck is an opportunity to get quiet, to get focused on where we want to go next. So it's about staying in the moment, which is very hard because I know that being stuck can sometimes be fear-based. It can cause anxiety and depression and hopelessness, right? But if we look at being stuck as different, it provides us with a moment to be still, a moment to reflect. And those are the moments when we uncover solutions.
Right. And in uncovering those solutions, How do you think that like getting unstuck, like what's like the first thing that someone should do if they're feeling stuck, having trouble getting out of bed in the morning, just don't feel like they want to move forward, feel
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, I think the first step is, and really in terms of any issue we ever experience in life, it comes back to self-awareness.
yeah.
Right. So noticing patterns, noticing how we think. Do we tend to be a thinker that's half glass full, or do we tend to be sort of a pessimist? Right. The more we become aware of how we tend to think and how we internalize stress, the more that we can, the more that these problems that we experience, this stuck feeling, starts to melt away, actually. So the first step, I think, is mindfulness. And how can we do that? There's so many ways we can become more mindful. I know for me personally, the one thing that's really helped me in challenging times is to literally pick up a pen and start writing. And I know that sounds really corny, and I know some people are listening going, oh God, really, journaling? It doesn't have to be something as formal as journaling. Just pick up the pen and start writing. There's no rules. Nobody needs to see it. You just literally just allow yourself to just write whatever comes to mind. And that it is a brain dump. Right. But what's important about writing or journaling, whatever we want to label it, we must continue it and make it a practice, because what ends up happening is as we continue to do it and practice it and write, we can look back and start to identify patterns in how we respond and react to things. And that is where we have an opportunity to create reframe. And a reframe is changing the way you look at a situation. So when you go backwards and you look at how you dealt with certain things, you can then start to ask yourself, what could I have done different? Or I noticed when I feel really defeated, this is what ends up happening to me. These are the thoughts that I end up happening. And that's a pattern of mine, right? And when we truly become aware of what goes on in our head, we start to let go. It's a very intense, very interesting process that starts to happen. We start to slowly let go of things. We start to see how we sometimes do create our own suffering by how we think.
I agree 100%. I think we create reality 100% of the time. The good stuff,
right,
and the not good stuff. And I think part of that is the stories we tell ourselves, not having a bright future, not thinking we even have control.
Exactly. And we may learn through that experience of being mindful and maybe journaling or writing, is that we may learn that our resistance or that feeling of stuck is just a sign that we need to relax. Some of us even struggle to know how to relax.
Right.
Some of us, I know I've spoken to colleagues that, they get sick, they get the flu, they get a cold, and their stress gets worse as they get sick, because this feeling of disconnecting from responsibilities is a stressful thing for them. They have to keep going and going and going and going. But sometimes being stuck is a way to stop us so we can get out of the hamster wheel and figure out how to grow and learn. Because quite frankly, we learn from our darkest moments. We don't learn when things are going well. We learn from our hardships. So if we can take that hardship or that stuck feeling and create some silence and allow ourselves to self-reflect, we may realize we're not really stuck. Maybe we just need a break. Maybe we need to reestablish some boundaries in our lives. Maybe we need to stop saying yes to everyone, because every time we say yes, we say no to ourselves. So, right? So, yeah, maybe we're just not stuck in the end. Maybe we're mislabeling it. And I've learned in my life that it isn't always about what we accomplish. Sometimes it's about resting and letting things just be. Just being quiet. And I think in this digital age that we're living in, we're so stimulated and so connected, and We've got so much on our plate. We sometimes forget that it's okay to do nothing. And maybe we're mislabeling it. Maybe it's not stuck. Maybe we're just resting. Maybe we need a break.
Right? I think giving yourself permission to taking a break is really important. And I actually said that to a friend of mine not that long ago, because she was worried that I was going to be angry with her for not working out with her one day. And I said, I'm like, listen, you know your body best. If you need a break, you should take it. Listen to your body. It tells you what you need.
See? But that's about listening to what you need. Right. And that's an example of a boundary. That's great that she or he was able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. She was like, wow, thank you so much for giving me permission to take a break. I'm like, if you don't take a break and you don't pay attention to those little whispers, eventually your body's going to scream by getting sick. And that's one of the ways I say well is I listen to my body and I pay attention to those whispers, so that when I don't have to hear the screams, the major screams too. Wow, Taryn, this was great. Thank you so much for being here. I mean, you nailed a whole bunch of different things for how to get through it, and you gave everybody it was wonderful to have you. I really appreciate it very much. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, if they want to reach you in one way, shape, or form, what's the best way for them to do that? And I know that you said you were going to give some kind of offer away if anybody wanted to reach out to you.
Yes. So I would like to offer any individual or company 1 free hour of coaching, professional coaching session. That is actually a $250 value. And I'd love to offer that to you for free. And I also would like to provide you with my website in case you'd like to look further into my services. And that is www.empowerbehavioralservices.com. And you can also email me directly at info@empowerbehavioralservices.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Taryn. Thank you so much. We don't have any questions in the chat right this second, but that's okay. If you do have any questions and you want us to answer them for you, drop them into the chat button of this particular series, and we will answer them at another time. It's not a big deal if you're watching this after the fact. We appreciate you just as much as those of you that are watching live. So again, I'm Lois from Fitness Knocking. Thank you so much for joining me today. Taryn, thanks so much for coming, and you have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everybody.